Hey everybody, it's me, Queenie. Thank you for joining me again. Today is day 3 of the Queen Boss Confidence Immersion, and I'm excited to have you join me today. Before we get started, let me just go ahead and invite everybody else to the group. So bear with me for just a moment. And once I learn the words of this song, I'm going to be dangerous, y'all. I am excited about what we're going to talk about today. We're going in, y'all. I used to have a running joke with my girlfriends all the time. They would say, you're going to have to warn me ahead of time when we're going deep. Let me know that I'm going to need my tank, right? Well, you need your tank today. But it's going to be good, and you're going to love it. I'm excited. What's wrong with you? Okay, just give me a second. Just trying to share this out to a few of my groups so that everybody can be on the same page with us, and then we will get started. Okay. My apologies for the delay. All right. Just a moment. We're about to get started. It's me, Queenie Brown, joining you today for day 3 of the Queen Boss Confidence Immersion. And I am super excited. All right, come on where the live is. Let's see. I love God. You don't love God? What's wrong with you? All right, we're about to get it going. Almost there. Thank y'all for being patient. Okay. Almost ready. All right. It's me, Queenie. Thank you all for joining me. We're about to get going. I'm excited. I'm just sharing the page out to a few of my groups so that everybody will know that we are live and ready to roll. And we are almost there. You love God? What's wrong with you? Also giving everybody a chance to join us because we are about to be fire. It's going to be a good one today, and I'm real excited about what I have to share with you. It's going to really empower you, and it's going to push you in some areas, so I'm excited about that. All right. I think that's it. We're good. We're good. I'm excited. Love them. I love them. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me again today. Today is day 3 of the Queen Boss Confidence Immersion. I'm your host, Queenie Brown, and today we're going to be talking about the root of your power. We're going to get to the root of it. And who am I? I am an author, a healer, a transformational coach, and a business strategist, and I stand for the healing, restoration, and full body empowerment of women and people worldwide, but specifically I have a heart to help women. Because of my story. I have been through a lot in my life. I've had a debilitating illness that I endured for over 15 years. I was told I would never be able to have babies, and I was fortunate enough to have some very powerful spiritual experiences that opened my eyes to the pathway to my healing. And also I was able to deliver 2 miracle babies in my mid-40s, so I'm very grateful that I'm on the other side of it. But through the journey of getting to the other side of it, I have learned some very powerful tools that I believe I was put here to share with you. So today we're going to go into that, and I'm really excited about it. This will be, it's going to be good. So before we get started, I want to just give you guys a heads up. I already told you you're going to need your tank because we're going to the bottom of the ocean today, but it's going to be a good way, in a good way. But I want to keep it interactive because I believe that this is a very sensitive area that we're going to be going into. And so you're probably going to be triggered. What do I mean by the word triggered? Well, sometimes I might say something that kind of it pierces you a little bit, or it might make you question a belief, or maybe question my beliefs, or maybe question whether or not you should even be listening to this. Triggers are there for a reason, and oftentimes they are, it's when I'm pushing on a belief of yours that might just need to be confronted. It might be something that you might need to just take a look at because it's coming up to be healed or it's coming up to be revealed. So allow yourself to experience the triggers when they happen, and they will happen in this conversation, I promise you. and just notice how it feels. Notice what it is that I'm saying that made you feel triggered, that made you feel maybe put off, that made you feel maybe even afraid. And give me a hashtag and let me know triggered. If you're, and especially if you're watching the replay, please interact with me on this, because as I go through this information, I want to make sure that I dot my I's and cross my T's for you. I want to make sure that I support you in understanding what it is I'm saying and why I'm saying it. I have a 20-year history of study in depth on theology, biology, psychology, technology too, but even more on more years in technology. But I understand, I've studied the Bible at length, and a lot of the things that we have been taught have confused our way of understanding. And so I want to just bring some things open, and the whole intention here is to reveal to you your identity and help you tap into your full power, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about accessing and activating the power that lives on the inside of us so that we can manifest our healing, manifest our money, manifest our healed minds, manifest our healthy relationships, manifest our ability to rear powerful children. All of those are at our fingertips, but because of some things, well, we'll talk about why in a minute. So the first hashtag that I want you guys to share, if you're triggered, hit me with a hashtag triggered, and then tell me why. What is it that I said that tripped you up? Because that way I'll know later on to come back and share some more supportive information to help you move beyond the trigger, or help you to confront it and know that it's the truth for you. Okay? So that's the first hashtag. The second hashtag is if you just hit a wall and whatever it is that I'm saying, you just can't get past it. You know, I hear you, Queenie, but I'm not feeling it. Give me a hashtag wall and tell me what it was that you just couldn't get beyond. And then hashtag I believe it. That's just letting me know that you agree with what I'm saying. You've done the research on your own, perhaps, or just in your spirit or in your know, or you know that what it is I'm saying does not conflict with what you know to believe. All right. Okay. So getting to the root of your power. Why am I talking about this? Because there's a reason why we feel disempowered. There's a reason why we are not walking in the fullness of our power. And so there is a image I want to show you guys, and I've shared it the other day, but I want to make this, hold on. I want you to see this so that you can, and of course it's not coming up for me while I'm live. Let me see if I can pull it up. I have to open it again, just a moment. But the reason why this is so important is because we are walking around as these powerful beings, these beings that have full power on this earth to do all kinds of amazing things, but we aren't walking in it because we are not clear about who we are. And so what I'm calling this is the ultimate identity crisis. It is the ultimate self-image that we have not been able to align with. And so what I wanted to do is help us to overcome that hurdle and help us to realize that the reason why we suffer in this area is because of how we were taught and what we were taught about our origin, our identity, where we come from, who we are, and what we are. And a lot of that has to do with the Bible and the way that it came together. So what it's done is it's disconnected us from our ability to see ourselves in our ultimate self-identity. And it was intentional. And we're going to talk about why. So a lot of people feel kind of uncomfortable when you start talking about the Bible because, of course, there's a whole lot of religious stuff that comes up around it. So what I want to talk about where that's concerned, many people reject the story of Jesus, and there's a lot of reasons why. The first reason that I came up with is multiple cultures were aware that there was this prophecy that there was going to be a Messiah, an anointed one that was going to come down onto the earth and be a godlike being that was going to free the people. This was a known prophecy in multiple cultures all over, on every continent, all over the world for years. And so everybody knew that this was expected to happen. So that's one of the reasons. And then also many cultures have a story of a Messiah that came down and was the anointed one, right? So because so many different cultures have a story like that, people feel like they don't believe the story of Jesus because this other culture has the same story. This other culture does the same. So that's one of the reasons why people reject the story. Another reason why people reject the story of Jesus is because religion, which the word religion originates from the Latin word religere, and it means a return to bondage. Think about that for a minute. So religions have bastardized the word, and they've used Christ, Christianity, and the Bible as a weapon. And they've used it to condemn people. They've used it to oppress people, and they've used it to control people. And so people realize that God's word doesn't feel right that the words of God would be condemning or would be oppressive. And so there's a disconnect there internally, and that's one of the reasons why people reject the story. Another reason is because it's shrouded in love, but it's filled with propaganda in a lot of people's eyes. Meaning the story is about love. It is a love story, but there's a lot of stuff in it that makes it feel a little uncomfortable. I guess that's just the best way I'll say it to a lot of people and a lot of cultures. And so, for instance, people have gone to war over the Bible for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Yeah, thousands actually, when you think about it. Another reason why people reject the word or reject the story of Jesus is because they know that it's not incorrect, but somehow it feels incomplete, right? It feels like something's missing, like there should be more to it, or there's some pieces that needed to be included that were not. Another reason why people reject it is because they have not rightly divided it. That you can't just read the Bible from cover to cover and get a full understanding of it. You literally have to take context into consideration, culture into consideration, language into consideration. There's a whole lot of different things that go into dissecting and rightly dividing the word that many people don't understand. And so because they don't understand it, they reject the story, right? So another reason, and the last reason that I'll share today, that people reject the story of Jesus is because in our mind's eye, the image that we see of Jesus, the Christ, the picture that comes up when we imagine that face, it doesn't culturally and historically align. And we know that, but it's, there's some people that just can't get past it. So they reject the entire story altogether because the image doesn't line up culturally and historically. So there's probably more reasons why people will reject the story, but today we're not going to go any further on that. I just wanted to just kind of throw that out there. Now, remember, if I'm triggering anything in you, please hit hashtag triggered and tell me what I said that triggered you. Hit hashtag wall if I said something that just made you not be able to go beyond, and then hashtag I believe it if we're on the same page. Okay. So let's just take it back. Let's take it back and recover the pieces so that we have a better understanding of the story so that we can get more clear about the root of our power. Okay? So here we go. Jesus, the Christ actually means the anointed one. Jesus was a real man who lived a real life, who suffered a real crucifixion, and who really rose from the dead. This is not just a story. It's not just a myth. It's not just something that people have wanted to believe over time. This actually happened. And the cool thing about what I'm going to share with you is that man has gone a long way to try to muddy the waters and use the book of love, the book of life, the word of God to control people. But God, in his infinite wisdom, made sure that everything that he was doing through Christ and the story that was going to be told, that his fingerprint would be all over it, and that we would be able to identify it and clearly discern what the truth was. So as an aside, I just want to make mention, one of the things that has really made it challenging for us to really embrace the story that God gave us about Jesus is our conflict with science, with Christianity's conflict with science. And one of the things that I have come to know and fully understand that is that science proves beyond all doubt the fingerprint of God on everything. Hey, Deidre, how you doing, girl? It proves God's handiwork all over the planet, every single thing. Science does not conflict. Scientists, which is really interesting, scientists believe in evidence. They want to see evidence, and you can't prove an energy source or a spirit like God exists. That they can't prove, but everything that he did, it has been proven. And one of the things that I remember having a battle with someone about it, and I hate to do that, but that it happened at one point. Someone was saying that they didn't understand why scientists keep talking about this Big Bang Theory. They couldn't stand that. They stopped talking about the Big Bang Theory. God created the earth. God created the heavens. God created all this stuff. And I said to the person, I said, I hear you, and I don't disagree at all, not at all. But what if in the very beginning, the Bible says, in the beginning, there was light. Well, God said, let there be light, right? What if he said, let there be light, and then it was boom, and all the planets and all the galaxies started to move. And science had been able to prove that it all started in a moment. And maybe that moment was when he said that. So instead of fighting science and not understanding that science is actually unraveling God's work and showing us the evidence of it, right? So anyway, I say that because the proof that God left us, it's not something that man could have manipulated, right? It's not. And that's what's so beautiful about it. And I can't wait to go a little bit deeper with you. Okay, so there is real evidence to support something powerful that happened when Christ came on the scene. The first thing that man could not have manufactured was the star Bethlehem, the star in the sky. That was when the king planet Jupiter and the queen planet Venus lined up together, and they became the brightest star in the sky. And that was when Jesus was conceived, and it was what started all of the process of all the magi that went to try to find him, and they found him in Bethlehem, and da 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 da. Okay, so all that happened because the planets aligned, right? Man could not manipulate that. Hey, Darcy, good to see you. The planets aligned, and man could not manipulate that. All right, so then the next thing, Jesus was born, and then he died. But after his death, if you guys recall, he died on the cross. And as I was doing my research, I learned that the actual day that he died was April 3rd, 33 AD. Now, why do I know that date? Because it would not have been able to be even researched until we had computers. But now that we have computers, you can actually see what the sky looked like at the time of his crucifixion. You can actually see what was happening when the planets aligned. And I'll put a link in the comments so that you all can do the research on your own. Keep in mind, I also want to just remind you guys, if I say something that triggers you, give me a hashtag triggered and tell me what I'm saying that's triggering you. Hashtag wall if you're hitting the wall and you can't move beyond what I'm saying, or hashtag I believe it if we're on the same page. Okay, but when he was crucified, the actual skies aligned. And it was amazing. And the beautiful thing about it is the evidence is all written in the Bible. Every single thing that you can look for in the stars was written in the word. And so you'll be able to see, I'll put the link in the comments. You can actually trace the evidence and see it for yourself and actually see what was happening in the stars. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story. And so the reason I'm mentioning this, though, is because there's no way man could have manipulated that. There's no way man could have aligned the planets. And so you have to acknowledge that this story is real. You have to acknowledge that the power that descended on the planet at that time was the real power of God. And so we talked yesterday about the fact that he said he was the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, and he was the firstborn of many brethren, and that we should do greater works than he ever did, right? Well, we are the kings and the lords that he's king and lord over. We are the brethren that he's the firstborn of. We are the harvesting generation, the ones that are supposed to be doing the greater works. And that means what he did is nothing compared to what we are able to do. But because we are not walking in the full identity that he has created us to walk in, we aren't standing in it. We aren't owning it. We don't embody it. And so today, that's what we want to talk about. I wanted to just bring that back to your remembrance. And I'll show you this picture. I thought I was going to be able to show it to you on the computer, but it's not coming up. But I'll show you this picture again, because this is exactly how we are seeing ourselves. We are seeing ourselves, like this lion. We are literally all powerful, the kings and queens of everything, but we see ourselves like this little kitty cat. And the whole purpose of this conversation is for us to be mindful of that, be reminded of the power that we walk in, and to eliminate this self-image that is beneath us, and really take hold of the fact that we are far more powerful than we realize, right? So here's the cool thing. Even after this happened, everybody on the planet knew that it happened. You know, think about it. Back then, they didn't have lights and big skyscrapers with a lot of lights. All they had was the stars. So they watched it all happen. And then at his crucifixion, it was an earth-wide earthquake. The entire earth shook. Okay, stones were ripped to shreds. Everything, the whole planet knew that something big had just happened. And so then right after that, what happened? People started writing the stories. People started sharing what happened. They started talking about it. You know, this was the Messiah. This was the one. You guys remember, did you feel it? Imagine if something like that were to happen right now. You'd be at the barbershop talking about it. You'd be on the phone with your girlfriend. As, girl, did you feel that? You know, you'd be talking about it. And then the whole story would unravel. And that's exactly what happened. They started talking and sharing and, oh my God, and then writing about it. And then the disciples, they continued the message, and now they're walking in it. They're doing what Jesus did. They're saying what he said, and they're walking in the power, and they're giving other people the confidence to do the same thing. Imagine how powerful they were starting to believe they were. And as I was doing the research for this, I was reminded about the Tower of Babel. You know, they were the people were all of one mind, and they had one language, and they all had one idea that they were going to create this tower that reached into the heavens. Well, God knew that anything that they tried to do would not be impossible for them. Nothing they could do would try to do would be impossible. Think about that. And so that's when the language is split. But imagine now, after Jesus died, the earth shook, everybody felt it, the stories were going rampant, everybody was running to hear what the disciples had to say. They were starting to believe it for real because they recognized something big had just happened, and they were starting to understand that the Holy Spirit actually had descended on them, and they could speak in other tongues, and they could raise the dead and heal the sick and do all these amazing things. Guess what happened? The powers that be got scared. They got scared because now all these people, who's going to keep paying taxes? Who's going to bow down to the emperor? Who's going to worship the people who were in charge, the pharaohs and all these people? Who's going to follow them if Jesus had now freed these people? So what they did, which was this was the first evidence of spin control. So what they did was they decided, Constantine in 325 AD. So all this was happening for hundreds of years, right? These people are getting more and more and more powerful. And so in 325 AD, Constantine, he was an emperor. He summoned all these wise folks, all these philosophers, and the wise ones of the day. He gathered them all together because they had to put together some spin control. They needed to control the narrative. So what they decided is, we're going to give you your Jesus, but we're going to figure out how to craft this story and take out what needs to be taken out and leave in what needs to be left in. But the whole intention was to alter the power of God. That was the intention. Now, I'm going to just say this. I still study the King James Version of the Bible. I still, I understand how to go back to the original language to really rightly divide it and understand what is being said. But then I also recognize that there was a lot that they took out of it with a purpose to leave it out, because it was a key and a clue to our power. So, so even in the midst of their spin control, they decided what was going to be left in the Bible, what wasn't, what was going to be taken out. And they said, well, these are the canonized books. These are the books we're going to include in the Holy Bible, and nothing more and nothing less. And now keep in mind, these people have been writing these stories, and they documented everything, especially with the help of the Holy Spirit, to reveal exactly what needed to go onto those scrolls. So they had been writing and writing, and then after they canonized the Bible and said, this is what we're going to believe, this is what we'll accept you to believe, they sent out an edict, and they said, anybody who has any of those old writings, we need to collect them. And so they collected all of them and burned them. And then anyone who was found to have them after the fact, they were like, if you have them, we're going to kill you and your whole family. So the people were scared, and a lot of people just gave up their Bibles. But some people didn't. And some people were brave, and some people decided that they were going to dig deep holes underneath their homes and bury these scrolls so that one day the true stories could be found. And then early in the 1900s, I want to say it was the 1950s. I have to remember the actual dates. But early in the 1900s, the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. They were big vats, like those big, I can't think of the word, like those big pots, clay pots, and they were stuffed in the earth and filled with scrolls. And so they've been studied, and you can read them now yourself and learn all types of new information about the stories that were not included in the Bible. And they were not included for a reason, right? So the fact that we are the empowered generation, but yet we're blessed and highly favored and sick, and we're blessed and highly favored and broke, and we're blessed and highly favored and angry, and blessed and highly favored and not solid in our minds, all of that was by design, right? Because we are the powerful ones. We are not these little kitty cats. This is blessed and highly favored and broke, blessed and highly favored and sick. All those things, this is what's on this side. But we are truly the empowered ones, but we don't know it. And we've been locked out of that power because we don't understand who we are. We've been locked out of our abilities because we have been controlled by the narrative, the way we were taught about who we are and what to believe about ourselves and the God that we worship and serve has totally disempowered us. But again, God in his infinite wisdom still knew that what was in there was enough to lead us to our identity, our authority, our inheritance, and our assignment. And it's there, but there's a whole lot more that we have access to. So I'm going to be talking about some of the things that that the church has forbidden that are clues to our power. Things that the church says, "Ooh, don't do that." For instance, don't read those Dead Sea Scrolls. Really? Really? These people risked their lives and generations and their legacies to hide these books so that we would find them. And we're not to read them? Of course not. Not if we want to stay under control. Not if we want to stay, under condemnation and under the power of the folks rather than walking in our own power. Yeah, they don't want you to read them. That's a clue to our power. We have to recognize that we were convinced to stay away from the things that are clues to our power. So anyway, I'm excited about sharing all this today. Another one of the things that that we have to keep in mind too is that some of the things that are included in the Bible about our identity were kind of twisted a little bit. For example, there's a passage that says that we were created a little lower than the angels. And that's not accurate. We were not created lower than the angels. We were created in the image of God, which is not lower than an angel. And if you look at that actual word that's used in the original text, angels is actually the word Elohim. And that's another name for God. God, there's a bunch of different names that are used throughout the Bible to express the different characters and parts of God. And Elohim is one of them. And so when it says that we were created a little lower than Elohim, that means that we were created a little lower than God, the most divine, the all-powerful, the all-loving, the all-knowing. That's what that means. So angels were created not for us to worship them. Angels were created for us to send them on assignment. They were designed to help us manifest, to help us get it done. It's our job to tell them what we need them to do. Get, not get over there, but but angels, go and handle this. Take care of that. They're ministering spirits. That's what their job is. So I wanted to talk to you about that, because my goal here is for us to come to one mind, to understand our power again, and to recognize that when we do that, nothing will be impossible to us. Nothing. Our manifestation abilities will just skyrocket, because we are clear about who we are. We're clear about what we are created to do. We're clear about the power that we hold and what's at our disposal to support us in manifesting, right? So for some reason, I don't know if you guys are commenting or giving me any hashtags. I can't see any of that today, but if you're not, let me know if you're following, and if I'm triggering you, or if I've said something that's just like, woof, I totally get it. It took me years to get to this point of understanding, and it took me years to really get comfortable in even talking about it, because I know that I'm pushing up against a lot of beliefs that have kept us bound, honestly, that have kept us stuck in that little kitty cat. Really, that's just the truth of it. So, the intention was to confuse the message so that we abort the mission. And my job is to recover the message, restart the mission, and get it going. All right. So let me just take a look at my notes and see if there's anything else that I want to make sure that I say. I think I've got all of it, but that is the root of our power. That is where our power starts, at understanding that the story of Jesus is our example. He's showing us what's possible for us, what it is that we can do in this world and more. And he's giving us an understanding that God embodies us. God is not outside of us. In the Bible, he says, God and I are one. The Father and I are one. I'm in the Father and the Father is in me, and I am in you. So that means the Father is in us. We're not, when we pray, we don't pray out to some nebulous ideal that's outside of us that we need to descend on us and come and be with us. No, we are embodying God-likeness. We are embodying the Spirit of God. Our spirit is fully commingled with the Spirit of God. And so if we understand that, then we recognize, wait a minute, I do have a little bit more power than I'm giving myself credit for. And my charge to you, to every one of you listening, is to get curious. Get curious. What is this power about? How do I use it? How do I tap into it? How do I stay reminded of it? Because we fall back asleep. Our subconscious mind has a way of sucking us back into the place that's not powerful. And how do I fix that? How do I keep myself in a position and posture of power, right? So I'm excited to open up the conversation, because I think this is a place where we need to start, and then we need to start digging in and really asking those questions as a group, and understanding how to really access, activate, and turn up this power that we have on the inside of us. So in the next few weeks, I'm going to be opening up a Rise retreat, and it's going to be an opportunity for us to really take another deeper dive and dig up some of the stuff that's in the way. Because again, it's about unlocking the power, like talking about our identity and really getting aligned with who we are. That unlocks it. But then you got blocks. Once you open the door, you got this brick wall called anger, or unforgiveness, or resentment, or bitterness, or sickness, or all the stuff that comes up, all the nesses that are blocking you from walking in that power, that we have to heal and rise above those as well. So I'm excited to have you on this journey with me. I think it's going to be a powerful, amazing journey. We're going to step into some amazing things and watch these signs and wonders follow us, because that's what he said would happen. All right. So thank you again for joining me. I'm loving you through it. I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll take another step. Hey, Jory, good to see you. I'm finishing up, but you should catch the replay. This was a good one. All right. Love you guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.